This will be a two-part video, and actually a third part, but not really on this. But diarrheal disease out of the list for the infectious disease in disasters. And the reason that it's going to be two parts is that there's a lot of stuff that I would like to talk to, and because also diarrhea is not just for disaster, but it kind of affects different things, and there's a lot of things I want to like to myths and things that I want to discuss. I'll take two videos, and the third video will be on water treatment, so I won't discuss about it, or else this video would be way too long. But I'll do a video separately on water treatment. So let's get started. So the topics that I would like to talk about is on the diarrhea, is the infection, non-infection, and bloody, and make a difference between those three diarrhea. And then after that, the water treatment, and like I said, I'll do a separate treatment on that. Imodium, Pepto-Bismol, and antibiotics and the treatment. So what causes diarrhea? So basically, as a definition, diarrhea is an imbalance in the absorption and the secretion property of the intestinal tract, meaning that there's more water inside the guts itself that there is outside, and so basically it creates this water. So, but there's four different cause of it. What it calls osmotic, meaning that there's a better power. So when you put like a sugar inside a molecule of sugar in the membrane, the water will try to go, or salt as well, the water will try to go towards it to rebalance. It's what we call osmosis. And so basically when the water pulls somewhere, it's called osmotic pressure, and sugar is a big one of this, and we'll talk about a little bit why. And so the water goes in. So if you have a lot of sugars or something in your stools, then that will pull some water out of your body and basically get into your guts, and then you have diarrhea. Secretory is mostly infectious. It's basically, it affects the surface of your intestinal tract, and secretes some either mucus or things like that, and then it mixes out and again increase the liquid contents of this. So that's the secretion part over here of the intestinal tract, and basically now again you have like a diarrhea. Motility means just that your water doesn't have time to be absorbed, because now your intestines are going so quick. So you know, when you feel like this crampy sensations and stuff, and everything is going very quickly, that's the motility. And exudative is a little bit the same thing as secretory, but I won't talk about it. It's not really about infectious disease, so we'll focus on the other one. Here's actually what they call about the water reabsorption with sugar salt solution, and why it's so important. We'll see in the treatment, and this is where I put this over here. When we were talking about the osmotic, or the pressure that goes between, so we have a thin layers here, and so basically this is your intestine in your guts, and this is your blood vessels, and as you can see, things are shifting from one side to the other. And so when we take those oral rehydration salt or solutions that we they sell, what it does is basically it goes to your bloodstreams, and it transfer here, and then basically bring some water with it. And so now there's less water over here. It rehydrates your body. If you don't have this, all those things, the glucose and everything, the sodium, those are two molecules that attracts a lot of water. That water will go the opposite way. So instead of going from the lumen to the blood vessels where it should go, it goes from the blood vessels to the lumens. And this is where things, for example, Gatorade is not very good. Gatorade has a very high concentration of water, despite what a lot of people mention and stuff. When we have diarrhea, you don't want to have Gatorade because it's too high in sugar. So unless you dilute it, it has such a high sugar content that basically what you have is the opposite, is that the water will go the opposite way, and basically now you're dehydrating yourself actually a little bit more, because of you're taking all those high sugary mix and stuff like that. And so that's why you want a very well balanced what we call ORS, and I'll talk a little bit later about them, but that's why you want a well balanced one. And so when we talk about diarrhea, there's different style, there's different kind, and there's mainly two categories that we want to. There's the category that pretty much like 95% of the time we will deal with, and the other 5% is this category, and this is a category that you have to pay more attention because you need more treatment than the regular stuff. Just rehydrate someone and that's it. So basically, if you have fever more than 6 hours after rehydration, so basically you've been drinking but you still have fever, you have blood in your stool, or your stools are yellow, or you have mucus symptoms and stuff, it is not just a regular diarrhea. It is not just like, you know, you had bad sushi and something like this and you had like that bad diarrhea. And so those ones are a little bit more they require antibiotic, they require further treatment. Those are the ones, like for example cholera would get into this in this category. And so what you need is to get superior treatments for those. So those are the 1, 2, 3, 4 things to really remember. If you have a diarrhea, 95%, 98% of the time you'll be able to treat them okay. But if you have any of those, so fever more than 6 hours after rehydration, blood in the stool, or yellow mucus in the stool, you're dealing with a different monster, and you have to think about it in consequences. So prevention. So we'll be talking a little bit about that. We'll talk about Pepto-Bismol, but also here it's a cool little graphic that I found. So basically, with the technology that we have, so filtration, chlorinization, and in the water, it tells about the percentage that you reduce diarrhea. And so this is mostly for developing country, but it's quite interesting. I thought of that. And so you see that the best way to really decrease is filtration. So if you're able to filtrate your water and all the nasty at 63% of reduction in diarrhea. Chlorinization alone is only 37% in reduction in diarrhea, and this is from a study in 2006. Solar disinfection, so the SODIS method is only 31% reduction in diarrhea. Flocculation disinfection, so basically what it does is that you put like this little product in water, and so the water goes from like this, and all this big sedimentation kind of goes down and goes there. That one is actually higher as well. It's just because a lot of the things that creates diarrhea is big particles. The reason that chlorinization doesn't work as well for a lot of the diarrhea in those developing country is that there's some and we'll talk a little bit more when we talk about the water, but there is some bugs that are very resistant to chlorinization, and this is some of the big bugs that are creating like major diarrhea. And so that's why it's only about 37%, and as well as the solar disinfection is just because a lot of time it's not done properly or the container gets stuck. And improved storage is another big one, 21%. And what it calls about improved storage, and again we'll talk a little bit more in the water section about it, is that if you, for example, you filter your water, you did a great job and everything, but then you put it in a contaminated storage container, well, all this process done, you just broke the chain, and basically you get you re-get infected. So that's why improved storage is still about 21%. So basically you want to have a good system to purify your water, but not only that, is a good way to store it. So we'll stop here for part 1, and we'll continue in the next video of part 2, and I'll talk to you soon.